Welcome to Cold Iron's Kitchen. I am Wade, and it's holiday season again. Tonight's dinner is going to be a themed dinner. It's going to be all about the herbs. Tonight we have rosemary, sage, thyme, and some basil. We're going to be using this in two different dishes. A very simple, easy to make side dish, roasted potatoes, and a little more complicated but very nice main dish, stuffed pork loin. To get started with, we're going to put together the potatoes. Now, I'm using my incredibly sophisticated mixing bag here. We've got one sweet potato or yam and three little red potatoes. One of the crew will get that. To that, we're going to add a couple pinches of salt, some fresh cracked white pepper, add a little chopped rosemary. I'm using fresh herbs. You can use dried if you like. But this is going to be all about the herbs. Fresh thyme. Thyme's such a nice herb. A pinch of sage in this. Not a lot of sage in the potatoes. And then, of course, my favorite, the basil. Good pinch of that. To that, we're going to pour some olive oil on it. About a tablespoon, maybe two. And now, we're going to mix this up. The most complicated part of this maneuver. The potatoes are cut into cubes about 3/4 of an inch big. Nice bite size. As you can see, the mixing machine's working overtime. And we're going to pop these in a roasting pan, but they're just going to sit there at the side for a few minutes while we work on the second part of this. Real quick and easy dish, put it together in 10 minutes. Pop it in the oven for about 40 or until the potatoes are tender and have a nice little coloring on them. Yeah, see there, they're all nicely covered with herbs and oil. Okay, the next thing we're going to work on is our stuffed pork loin. We have here about a 3-pound pork loin, and what we need to do is roll this pork loin out so we have something to put our dressing or stuffing in. You do that by taking a small knife, very sharp knife, and making little cuts, and then start going under. Now this is the hard part of the job. It takes about 10 minutes. So while I'm doing this, we'll get back to you in just a bit. Thanks. Hi, we're back. Actually, it took me about 3 minutes to get this thing all fleshed out like this. Now we're going to give it a little uniformity, and notice there's plastic wrap over the top of this. I've got the uniformizer here. It's going to be noisy. Now the plastic wrap is not necessary, especially if you really enjoy cleaning every vertical surface in your kitchen frequently, from meat. Okay, this bowl here I have 5 slices of sourdough bread that have been dried and cut up. To that we're going to add 4 good-sized chopped up mushrooms. Just love mushrooms. Some garlic, squashed and minced. 2 cloves. About a 1/4 cup of minced onion. Pinch of salt. Some pepper here. Now, we're going to get back into the herbs. That's the theme of the dinner, is the herbs. Especially this time of year, the smell of herbs cooking just drives me nuts. If you got a wood-burning stove in your house, put fresh herbs in a pot of water. We just put some rosemary in. Now we're going to put some thyme on top of that. We'll just give it all the time. A little more sage in this one, because it is a stuffing. Fresh sage. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to use the fresh ones. The dried work just fine. You have to use a little less of the dried though. Fresh, you have to use a little bit more of. A little basil in that. Now I'm going to put some celery seed in there. And just for my own edification, just a touch of cayenne pepper. That's a little big touch there. Gonna give my hands a quick rinse. We're going to start mixing this stuff up. We're going to add some chicken broth to that. We might have to add a little water here in a bit, I'm not sure. But that's about 3/4 cup of chicken broth. And you always use your hands. It's the fun part of the job. Now we're going to make this kind of dry to start with. It's not going to have any crunchy noises, but I'm going to add a little water. The pork loin is very moist. It's going to add a lot of moisture to this. You see that? Beautiful color in there. Don't be afraid to squish it down a little. Gets everything all nicely mixed up. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for now. We're going to bring Junior back over here. Now the reason for pounding on it is just to level it out a little more, give it evenness so that when it's cooking, it cooks evenly. Let's go ahead and start stuffing this one. And as we're putting this down, I'm thinking about the step ahead of me, which is having to figure out which drawer I keep my string in, because I'm going to tie this poor guy up. It's bad enough I've already filleted him, pounded on him, and now I'm going to tie him up. Okay, once you get your stuffing on there, just roll them up. It's a nice large roll here. Now you notice I didn't remove any of the fat from this. It's because there's so little fat on it to begin with. Isn't that a gorgeous looking roast?
It doesn't need to be tied.
You know, I don't even think we're going to have to tie this one. We're going to set it down in there and let the as it's cooking, it's going to grow together, and then when we're done cooking it, we're going to let it set for about 15 minutes prior to slicing. Give my hands a quick rinse here. All right, another Pyrex dish here. I do like my Pyrex dishes. Now this is going to go into the oven, 350 degrees for about 1 hour. Just like that. Except we're going to put some friends on top. Just a couple here. Thyme and rosemary. Just like that. Okay, so this is going to go in the oven. We'll be back in about an hour. Thanks. Hi, we're back. It took a little longer than I thought, hour and 30 minutes to get everything cooked just right, but we're going to plate this up. We got some of these roasted potatoes here. Put there in the corner. And then
Aren't they pretty?
we got a couple slices. Well, we're going to put one slice because this is awful thickening here.
Slice.
Stuffed pork loin right there. A little more stuffed pork loin right there. And a little stuffed pork loin right here. Now I'm going to put some sauce on that. This is some of the juice that come off the pork loin. I'm going to drizzle it over the whole thing right there. Now, you pair this with a salad, you've got a great meal. I'm so glad you folks stuck in with me. Merry Christmas.